Today, we wrap up my interview with the Michael Blanc. In today's video, we contrast active with passive investing and why we believe real estate syndications are the easiest and best way to add high-quality real estate to your investment portfolio. I'm Michael Parks, helping you to invest in real estate to live life on your own terms. Here we go. So Michael, I know you are the CEO of Nighthawk Equity, and you run many syndications for multifamily real estate. So, tell me a little bit about what is a syndication from a limited partner's perspective, and contrast that with, I think, what a lot of people think about when they get into real estate is I'll go buy a two-family, three-family house, something like that, maybe a single-family house, and rent it out. Can you help contrast what's a syndication versus buying a small multi property?
Yeah, I mean, small multi, I think a lot of people are invested with turnkey investments, right? The model is you, the investor, buys the house, you get the loan, the house is yours, but there's a company that basically provides a turnkey to you. So they go and do all the renovation, they manage the tenants, and you sit back and count the passive income. Like so, so basically, what it is it's basically you're the active investor with a property manager running it, right? So that is not really passive income. When you talk to anyone who has invested in turnkeys, it's a little bit like investing in restaurants. When things don't go well, you become an active investor really quick because now you got to get in there. You got to fire this property management company who's not leasing, is not doing it, blah blah blah. Now you're in there, and you got to figure out what's what. So your turnkeys quickly become active as well. The syndication is set up much more, and of course you own the house yourself. Therefore, you are exposed to unlimited liability if the tenant were to sue you. A syndication is you are a passive investor alongside other investors that together you can buy a much larger building that you couldn't do on your own. And in so doing, you buy a lot of stability and more certainty because it's managed by a more professional management company. And the larger the building is, the more choices you have as a manager. There's economies of scale. The quality of the management is much higher. If one doesn't work out, there's going to be two or three in line that want to manage that property. So you have a lot of choices. Now, as a passive investor, you truly are passive. This is why the SEC gives you protections around that because you are not in the day to day. You don't make any decisions at all. That's the one downside is you don't have control like you do with a single family house turnkey solution where you can sell it anytime you want. You can fire the property manager anytime you want. You can't do that with a syndication. You don't have that control. This is why you have to invest with an operator almost in a partnership where you trust that operator to make the right decisions, the right hiring decisions, the right property manager, the right time to refinance, the right time to sell, right? That's why it is important. And so that lack of control is definitely a downside of syndication. It requires people getting used to that and really getting building up trust with that operator. But that is much more that's much more passive, right? You're not attending meetings. You're not visiting the property unless you want to. Certainly you can, but that is truly set up to be the most passive investment that you can, aside from stocks, of course.
Yeah. Um, Having done some small multis myself, it is not passive, right? I mean, the amount of time it takes to manage your property manager, just to even collect all your financials every month, to look at them and find out. Well, I just found out on one of mine that a tenant didn't transfer the gas bill over to them. It's middle of winter up here in the Northeast. And so that gas bill transferred right over to my name to keep the heat on, and they never transferred it back. So here I am sitting with $1,000 gas bill, and and I got to get the property manager, get the tenant to switch it back to their name, and hopefully I don't get stuck with that $1,000 gas bill. And it's only the $100 or so that the place was empty. So, it's just, you got to stay on top of it. You got to stay on top of it in an active way. And, you do that with a two or three family house, and then you do two or three of those. And next thing you know, you're spending a whole lot of time doing what was supposed to be just sit back and collect the rent, right? Which
That's
is
right.
the way it is with syndications. Um, yeah. And I contrast that with my syndications, and I call it mailbox money. Just shows up every month, shows up in the account. And then I get to read the update on the property and all the good things happening. So I do like syndications for that reason, that it is just that much more passive. With that said, how do people get comfortable with the lack of control? Because I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with. You know, having
It's there's 2 things that people, passive investors struggle with. One is lack of control, the other one is how long the money is tied up for, the
yes,
illiquidity. Those are the 2 downsides of a syndication. So we mentioned all the upsides. Those are in fact the 2 downsides. I think it is a matter of comfort, degree of comfort with the asset class itself and the operator you're investing with. So now we're talking about, well, how do you vet a good operator? But the idea, imagine if you can get comfortable with an operator, you trust them, you trust their judgment. They seem to be people of integrity. They communicate well. They seem to be they have a track record of making good decisions, of having good performance. That really takes the edge off someone who's addresses both of those situations. Really, and that's the reason people are afraid that they can't pull their money out. The only reason you would pull their money out if it's not performing, right? If it's performing, then you wouldn't pull their money out. Same thing about control. People want to exercise control. If something goes wrong, they want to, of course, step in or pull their money out. They can't. So it's really all a matter of trust and aligning yourself with the right operator who has a certain amount of track record and character to make an investor comfortable with investing with them.
right, right. Any advice on how to vet an operator other than the track record?
Track record is one, right? And of course that disqualifies new syndicators, which I have a heart for new syndicators, so they don't have a track record per se. If you're but here's the thing, if you're a new investor, you have a track record in something. You have a track record in your career, your profession. You have a track record of succeeding and things of that nature. And then other new syndicators, they partner with more experienced syndicators, therefore leveraging their track record, or having an advisory board, for example, that has a huge track record. So track record is definitely an important thing. The other one is how they communicate, and you can learn a lot about a person and how they communicate via email or phone calls or text messages. Are they responsive? Does it take days to return a phone call? That's and number three is, do they do what they say they're going to do? Yeah, I'll email you by the end of the day. Well, they don't email you at the end of the day. All right, a little bit of a warning sign. Are they doing what they're, and how much do they communicate? Ask them, how frequently are you putting out your reports? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? How available are you? Via email. What's your response time? Can I call you on the phone? How do you behave when things haven't gone right in the past? And if the syndicator says, well, nothing has ever gone wrong, well, it's probably a bad sign. And so, well, what happened? Find out what happened when it didn't go wrong, and how did they behave during this time? I mean, that past investment I'm talking about. What happened, which is so common, is the investment started not going right, and the person became non-responsive, right? And that's when the passive investor gets irritated and angry, and they start looking at the contract and calling their attorney, right? It's because the operator stops communicating because something's not right. Now, our MO is to increase our level of communication when something's not going well, because I don't want the investors to be blindsided. Now, is that a pleasant communication to make? I'm sorry, we're not making a distribution this month because we screwed up. Well, no, no, that's really not. And most people don't want that conflict. They'd rather just go silent. But from experience, that's never a good thing. So those are some of the things. Maybe you can add a few other ideas about how to vet an operator.
Yeah, I love the you know, over communicate as things go bad. I've worked with Walmart in my past, and they used to say good news should travel fast and bad news should travel faster.
That's good.
So I think that's a really positive thing. And hey, if you're partnered with the right people that you're comfortable with, and you can get to that level of comfort, and you should get that communication for sure. I do background checks on partners that I work with as well. I think they
Mm,
only go so far, but it is helpful to make sure to add that level of due diligence. And like you suggested, I mean, my strategy for our investor group is to partner with people with boots on the ground in markets that are conducive to multifamily, that know those markets well. I think it's just too easy to make a mistake trying to invest long distance without an intimate knowledge of a market. And so that's why my strategy is to work with people who have that intimate knowledge, and can make sure that we look at the deals conservatively, and that we get into deals we think we can be successful with. Well, Michael, anything else you'd like to share with my audience? Any last further words of advice, or anything you know you'd want to share?
Yeah, I think passively investing in multifamily syndications is the best, investment vehicle on the planet. So I just want to encourage everybody watching this to kind of keep an open mind and educate themselves, by watching your video and just looking on the internet. There's a lot of information on passively investing, what syndications are, how they work, and just keeping open mind about it. And then when they feel ready to take a little bit out of the stock market and doing a minimum investment in a syndication, and see how it works. And I think it will really open up just unbelievable opportunities for people once they start looking outside the stock market. There's some amazing stuff out there that is conservative, that has tax advantages, and so I think just encouraging people to be curious and educate themselves about this asset class.
Yeah, great advice. Michael, thanks for being on the program. Can you tell everybody where they can find you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, so we have resources for both passive and active investors, and you can find everything at themichaelblanc.com. We have a book called Financial Freedom with Real Estate for people who are active or passive who want to quit their job. We have a podcast called the Apartment Building Investing Podcast, and it's all about financial freedom with real estate. And those are some great ways that people can connect and find out more about us and what we do.
Terrific. Thanks, Michael.
I hope you enjoyed today's interview with the Michael Blanc. If you're interested to learn more about passive investing in real estate syndications, I invite you to join my Spire Real Estate Investor Group. There's no cost or obligation, and you'll have access to educational content as well as investment opportunities to consider. You can join by going to spireinvestmentproperties.com/join.